Welcome back everybody to my mobile workshop build series. In the last one I was building doors, quite similar to this one. This here is a double door. It is again made out of plywood with these inserts made out of 1/8 inch plywood. They fit in there very nicely and made wonderful doors in the front of the trailer, and it enabled me to help organize my stuff a lot better. Now, one thing about the front of the trailer is that the corners are rounded, which made outfitting the corners inside a little tricky. Here I've got some cardboard that I'm using to determine the shape of these pieces of plywood. Those were cut-offs from building the workbench. And with just that and some 2x4s, I was able to make a nifty little shelf system over here. This bottom piece also had some 1/8 inch plywood, which created a little box for a receptacle. I wired this up to the solar panels, and it has since become a wonderful place for charging my speakers and my phone. And a nice little place for my knickknacks. On the other side, I also have now plenty of room for my little carvings and whatnot, and that's very nice. With more 2x4s, I ripped them down into an L shape and used them to outfit the corners of the workbench. Here's some trim around the refrigerator. Trim around the front corners as well. Next, I decided that I was going to do something a little bit drastic, and that required that I take some of these things off the wall and shuffle them around. Like this piece of 2x4 that I carved into a holder for my chisels. You've seen me do this before with screwdrivers, and it worked out really nicely, so I decided chisels also were going to have their own little home. That's nice. So now that I have these areas of the wall open, it was time to do what I had to do. This was certainly going to take a little bit of courage. And here goes nothing. No turning back now. So I continued cutting a huge hole in the side of my trailer. After the little circle saw, a jigsaw did the corners. And just like that, I had some extra ventilation in my mobile workshop. Alright, not bad. I think next would be to see if this window fits. I'm going to slide that open. There we go. Now I can do it from the inside. Beautiful. Beautiful. Alright, we're going to put a little sealant on this and stick it in the hole. Keep your mind out of the gutter, would you? I understand that I could probably have used butyl tape here, but this sealant, which remains flexible, is just as good for the job. Plus I had it laying around, so that's what I chose to use. Being very carefully, I was able to set it in place. And then use clamps for now. I don't plan on clamps holding that in there forever, obviously, but the next step is going to be this here. This has two options because of the bevel shape. You can have it with enough space to accommodate a 7/8 inch wall or about 1 1/4 inches. Those are approximate measurements, but this particular bezel, whatever you call it, doesn't really work. So what I'm going to have to do eventually is build a frame around this that'll stick to the wall, and then the bezel will go on that and clamp the two pieces together. For right now, I want it clamped though, because if there's any inconsistencies in the wall, I don't want a gap where rain can get in. I don't see any light coming in, so I think it's pretty good. I'm going to cut me some pieces of wood and stick that there temporarily, and then I'll put the bezel on, and that'll act as a temporary clamp until this adhesive on the outside cures good enough where I can take it all off and then put something on there. Yeah, you got to imagine there's always going to be a custom fit, especially when you're unsure of the wall thickness. I thought that was going to be 3/4. I was assuming it had a possibility that it would work, but assumptions, you know how that works. All right, I'll be right back. As it turned out, I was able to reuse some of the cutoffs from my screwdriver holder project. They happen to be the right thickness to help clamp the window to the wall. This echelon is screwed into the window, and then if I put this here underneath that, see how that just popped out? Now when I squeeze down, it's gonna draw the two together. That is lovely. Elegant in its simplicity. Nice. Yeah, that's good. I'll put another one there, and two on the top and the bottom, and that should hold the window. Again, until I can make a better frame. I like it. Of all the projects that I've done so far to this trailer, these windows were intimidating, yes. However, they wound up being really easy in the grand scheme. They have not leaked a drop to this day. And I'm not sure about the screens and how effective they are, given that the back door is always open. We don't want the bugs getting in. These windows are certainly effective, though, at helping cool down this workshop significantly. But the breeze is wonderful. These windows have a heavy tint to them, so you can't see in from the outside, and the action is pretty nice. I'll leave a link in the description in case you're interested. Good, good, good. Marty like it. Huh? Yeah. I can tell it clamped down because it's a little bit squeezed out. Not too shabby though. Yes, sir. I don't know. Someday I might just put a little bead of black silicone around that just to be safe. You know? Let's hide some of that crap that's leaking out. I like it. With this window installed, I went to the other side, cut another hole in my nice mural, which isn't done yet, by the way. Next, I focused my attention on the jagged corners of the bench top. My plan was to round these corners, so I drilled a hole, thinking that I was going to just use a little jigsaw blade by hand and cut off those corners. When that proved a little bit too difficult, I instead opted to use a small handsaw because I'm smart. Once I had that little corner lopped off, I went over to get my angle grinder so that I could hide the sins from the nasty cut that the handsaw made. Then with a little sandpaper, everything was nice. I took the little pieces that I had cut off and I put them on the inside corners here at the front of the workshop. I glued them in place, held them there with some tape, and the following day I took the tape off and I decided I was going to have to round these a little better than that so that I can get a radius for these rope moldings. The Dremel was the perfect tool for it. Within moments I had a beautiful little radius, and I just wanted to get it a little smoother, so I went up to my sandpaper stash. The sponge that I was using as a block wasn't really working, so how do I do this? I went over to my other random hardware things that I kept, like this hard tube that once had some cordage around it. This helps sand that inside corner really nice. You see, I keep things that are junk sometimes for a good reason. Well, sometimes. Once I had that all sanded, I checked to make sure that this rope molding was going to fit in there nicely. That looks pretty nice. Yes, sir, I think that was going to work. Now to attach it. In the past I've used nails, but this time I was going to use glue. This Gorilla Glue expands, so I was super careful to make sure I didn't use too much. I didn't want it pushing the molding away from the worktop, nor did I want it dripping all over the place. And then I took this tape and I had several pieces ready so that I could try to be as quick as possible without making a mess. Luckily this kind of worked out, and this glue sets pretty quickly, so after getting everything in place here with the tape, I just went back a little bit here and there and gave it a push and a wipe if the glue started coming out. And before I knew it, I had a really elegant looking worktop here. It had come a long way since it was just plywood and 2x4s. And it was sure to fill me with a lot of pride for many years to come, I hope. It took 3 pieces to do the entire length, since they come in 8-foot sections. And like the windows, it wasn't that hard of a job to get this accomplished. But you do a little bit here and a little bit there, and before you know it, kind of like the adage says, you take a step here, a step there, before you know it, you've walked a mile. You guys have also been with me for quite a while too. Stay tuned and we'll see the finished result in the next video. Many thanks to everybody out there who has commented, liked, and shared my videos. I appreciate all of that. And most of all, thanks for watching.